some great little visual aids for you all.
Okay. Okay, folks. I don't trust reading, so I always bring everything that I'm going to read in a booklet. Okay, so the beginning is visual, so you might want to follow along to see what I'm trying to read from. And then it turns into textual stuff, though the shape sort of matters. But you know, you could dispense with it if you want to by that time. One thing you should know is at the end I will sing, and so I hope you like singing, and I hope you don't care if people sing well. So that's just a little one. Now we're going to start with, these are fidget clips. Fidget clips are things I do at work. Almost everyone is written at work. In meetings, as I'm in meetings, I do two things at once. I write these and I listen to what's going on. And they're little visual poems. They're very small, they're handwritten. It was just the simplest things to do this time. The first two, just so you know, are part of my autobiography. In a couple of years I'm going to be 50. And after that year is done, I'm going to finish this autobiography and maybe continue to live, I don't know. Anyhow, we'll go. 1960, a year of birth, a beginning, a going on forth into it. 1961, just a blank and growing. Gazetteer, map maker, land and dreams of lands. Letters, topography, for notes, expression, experience. Moon over night, under space, beyond thought. Photographs, remarks, reaction, record. Slayer, slasher, salver. And this last one is actually a piece of asemic writing. It means there really are no words or sounds in it, but we're going to make them up right now. Because I read it over today and I figured out I have a way to read it if I want to. It's called The Manifestation of Plenitude. Apavedzar zmatem kanoi wanemi zumek. Try something a little more normal. This is from Longfellow Memoranda, which is a book that just came out. And what it is a book that I spent a year writing. It's what I call a year poem. I try to set aside a poem that I'm going to write in a year. It's made out of 366 little poems, each based on a tiny sliver of poems from let's just say Longfellow. And not a favorite poet of mine. And then I've got a few of them here. From February, so let's see how they go. I'm going to dispense with telling you the numbers. Doing, pursuing. Inward, 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 silence. Each wandering thought to better outweight the world. I dare not, I know not, I shall not, unknown. Dawn and glory, a short walk to sunset. The shant shall sit, the slip will spill, exceedeth me teeth, feeleth me tense. Star to propriety, small child, student of life, hand out like a cracker. Each morning's opening, a palm of coins, each evening's end, a skein of voices. Few words that robe all things with arms. One touch of fire, of ice, one touch. Passion illumined by snow filled with light. Affect and shun the heart for the sun returning. In a genital mood, what his heart desired was warmth. Storm shine, driftwood. The manifold cisterns of dank repose, the fountain of despair. Neither written nor writ o'er, again and against. Sublime mystery, a moment of silence, that only science puts to rest. Conscious with the earth, stronger than the truth. We plow a trait, recognize humanity. Overall he sees, overall he writes, overall he sees, overall he writes. Of excellent witless sorrow, true ever to tomorrow. Or opposite of or occult. Now the next few poems I wrote in a very brief period, about I don't know, a couple of months, and it's from a collection I call Credence. It's 101 poems. We're not going to read them all. Okay, so let's just do a few of them. They're all of 7 lines. The rules are they have to be stanzas of 7 lines, any number of stanzas, 1 to 3 words per line. Thought, unthought. A light, a shone, the soft way it scallops a face, hers. How she thinks through her eyes, teasing something out of darkness. Why she rummages beyond the ends of her socks for ideas, past any reach of lamp or sun, to wiggle tenderest thoughts out and cup them between her palms, protecting them from such dangers as contradiction, question, or outright dispute. Tepid. She didn't know the color of intent and wondered if it had something to do with sound, how sitting in the bathtub she could hear a dropping like water that surmised was the dog sleeping through a dream, but could have been a drop from the tap, one tap into a small puddle of water in the sink, or just her own finger tapping the top of the bath water tops. Something like, when she sleeps, he sends her a poem expecting her to hear, but she does not, expecting her to see, but she does not. He will sit on the side of the bed and watch her carefully, yet she will never read the poem, hear the poem. He whispers to her, see, hear, and yet she sleeps. And finally, he realizes she will not wake or read when suddenly she breaks into silence, which is something like song, only quiet. At once and before. Form and fact are one as, from form, the shapes of fact are made. Take a system of city streets dividing a peninsula into rectangles of land, restricting the roadways to the spaces between these rectangles. That form provides the fact of that world. That form is the shape and pattern and repetition that gives meaning to fact. Fact is nothing but each cool morning in Millbrae when I can almost feel the bay rising behind me as I walk up the hill into Eucalyptus. Here's a controversial poem, very controversial. Tom Beckett keeps telling me how I shouldn't use the first word that you're going to hear. I won't tell you what it means. Here's the thing you need to know about this poem. It's essentially 4 different voices, not necessarily people. So I'm going to try to say them differently, but it will probably be a mush. But there are 4 different things going on at once, all mixed up together. Scalp in a fingertip. Taut, like love, a line between. Consider the lilies of the field. Cicatrix stitches the chest back together. They call it healing. The tension between two through words, deeds, thoughts, they neither toil nor spin. It heals quick, yet exceedingly slow. Therefore do not worry, saying, yet we cohere, yet we endure. How but not to? The sternum must fuse back together righteousness and all these things, or so they say. We tend to depend on each other. Pain that is inconstant, like a lover, yet nagging, tiny, just a scalp in a digit. We resolve to be and are. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Here's a poem that's unlike everything else. I usually write poems in sequences, sets of poems. This one comes out of nowhere. I wrote it in Rhinebeck, New York, all of a sudden after reading one line of a poem by August Kleinhauser. No idea why. I don't think there's any connection between the things. Two lips. A woman in the rain walks through the rain with 3 red tulips in her hands. No, one of them is pink. With 2 red tulips and a pink one. She walks down the street in the rain coming down, and the cobblestones rise to click when they hit the soles of her shoes. Because she is floating, she is gliding down the street in the rain. And she is walking through the smell of the sea blown in with the rain with 3 red tulips in her hands. And one of them is pink. On and on and on. I'm writing poems that are lists. It's a series of lists inside poems, so that's the way this works. They all take place in certain places where I have been. Sometimes they're very specific, like maybe near the attic in Cedar Beach, Ontario. Sometimes they're less specific. Maybe near the attic, Cedar Beach, Ontario. Recollections of battle. How he had a box full of plastic soldiers, some of them chewed by animals. How they were entirely green, pants, shirts, helmets, boots, and skin. How he arranged their battles along a mountain chain of blankets. How these battles ended in death for all. How he was feverish as he played. How he was holding down vomit as he moved the men closer to death. The space he inhabited, short in height, no windows or one window at the far wall. Dark because brown, all brown. He did not remember a floor. What he would see if he ventured outdoors, an ocean that went by the name Lake Erie, a mulberry tree full of fat purple berries, cedar waxwings in the maples, a mile inland, a ragged bald eagle's nest perched in the highest tree, muskrats in a roadside ditch, the picnic tables splattered white and purple. How he named his siblings: next, next to, an other, another, not, blank. What stories he told himself when he was bored. The one where the spacecraft number 13 crashed. The one where his teacher wouldn't let him leave the room and he wet his pants until the urine drained onto the floor. The one where he caught his zipper on the crinkly underside of his penis. The one where his mother broke her arm. The one where there was a puddle of urine under his seat on the next morning of school. The one where they scattered tacks on the road and a car actually got a flat tire. The one where he couldn't wash the stink of the fox snake off his hands. The one where people told him the lake wasn't polluted and would never freeze in winter. The one where he pretended to fall asleep on the school bus so he could get off at the wrong stop. The one where his sister had a tantrum in the driveway and pounded her fists into the gravel. The one where he filled his drawings of a tree with hearts during Lent, each heart representing a good deed he had imagined he'd done. How he named his toes: big one, long one, middle one, unnameable, little one, blank. What he did in the morning: awoke to an alarm buzzing all white, climbed down from his top bunk, pulled his brother from between his mattress and the wall, turned on the TV to watch a rabbit that was master of the martial arts, ate a bowl of cereal, choices, an admiral who was a captain, 3 colored balls of a rabbit, a leprechaun's trinkets, the flying discs of a bald spaceman. Stood at the end of his driveway wondering why girls' legs were naked even in the winter. The sounds he heard through the green felt of the pool table: shh, click, clack, crash, gurgle, trill, splash, pink velvet. What he did at school: spelled every word right except for Quebec, read all the words, read all the books in a sequence of colors, stared at the 3 twisted fingers in his teacher's hand, learned what bilingual meant, ran from the children at recess, ran from the children during gym, watched the girls' legs as they danced during class, never heard a syllable of French. Words he didn't use in school: oogie-googie for penis, big for doo-doo, doo-doo for urine, winter akin to brunch, spankaman, sleepy bugs, grass soup for caldeirão, any word in Portuguese. Where he might be around the house. In the basement, which flooded, but the mother cat saved her kittens one by one. In the loft of the garage, warm with summer and the smell of dry wood. On the lake in the winter, trying to skate over jagged ice. In the living room, where a man first walked on the moon. In the bathroom, where he dried his pants so his mother wouldn't know he wet them. In the crawl spaces by the rec room, where he sometimes read his books. In the kitchen, where he made dinner when his mother broke her arm. In his bedroom, which was very small. In his sister's bedroom, with 3 beds lined up in a row. Near the attic, where he can't remember if it existed.
Nice.
2 more poems. And these are with long lines, and these get louder, so it'll work. Eyes, the color of eyes. You cannot without voice demand of me, child and riot of child, children, your life, despite any requirement to live, any need to make, to suck, a breath in and push it out. I demand of you a body first, a reason to listen, that corporeal form to hold, to believe in. I demand blood, flesh and blood, flesh, bone and blood, a heart pumping, eyes that see, and those the color of eyes, and fingers. Fingers drumming on the table, impatient for attention, attentive to injustice. Well, life is an injustice itself. None here asking for it. An unexpected gift we wake up to only years after receipt. Our eyes taking so long to focus, our legs to walk and last, always last and lasting long, but not forever. Sometimes lost in the process of growing old, our thinking thoughts, our memories, our deliberations upon fate. This is all this life can give you. A body that breaks, a mind that degrades into slivers of memory too small to hold, too brief to recall, a few years treading against the millworks, a heart that breaks and breaking stills, desire fat as a grape, attainment like a rail's voice pitched against a storm, then years more of same or not, and wondering whether one choice were better than the other, whether voice were better than silence, ocean better than desert. Require of me nothing, for that is my gift to you. Of you I require mere attention, till your reign unto earth begin, a modicum of recognition of what I am and what you request. See me asleep on a couch too short for my legs, feet hanging off into dead air and twitching me towards waking. Every spasm is a step, and each step faster than the last. What, I ask you now, do you see? We are runners. We are runners. We are runners. And last before the song. Words upon the opening of a thought. Of course, I am post-avant, after, before, a poem, poetical, a stance, ironical. I am words, words on a page, the soughing of breath, the sloughing of sound for spectacle, the noise that comes after a thought, wind broken by beans. I am the apple in Eden that couldn't be eaten, but I am ate. When Eve takes me into her mouth, her teeth delicate against my skin, the sensation is curiously pleasant. When she eats me, she swallows, swallowing my essence, the pulse of my coming, matched with her swallows, graceful birds, cutting arcs through the blue sky. I cannot see, for my green eyes are closed, and it is twilight, so I cannot tell if the swallows or bats out for the coming night, living their brief crepuscular existences against the hope of catching some summer's insect in erratic flight, for blood, for candlelight, for now. In the shadowy dusk I swallow a swarm of gnats surrounding me like the night's cloud, something like regret when measured against the opportunity a life affords. Each gnat I see is a period, the end of a sentence I have just spoken, conclusion to each sentence of the day, my words reduced to their essentials. The simple number of strings of knotted words, the cardinal number of quipus I dutifully carried through the day, half for myself, half for the dead minions who came before me and said, take my words forth, thus thou shalt have these words to speak. Those who came before me, leaving behind their thoughts which I could scoop up like a scattering brood of chicks that do not form a collective whole, that disperse like droplets of perfumes from an atomizer, that perfume my neck so that my scent might entice those around me to listen to me, the man of the sweet neck, a sturdy band of muscle around the throat through which my breath travels on its journey into voice. I speak only those words I learned as a child, the words of my mother, busy with her spices, cardamom, turmeric, turgenev, the words of my father, busy with his postage stamps, tete bêche, perforation, apollinaire, the words of my playmates, Booger, Moogie, Whitman. I am hungry for words, holding only enough to talk about food and stamps and those bodily functions we snicker at since we do them in private, just as Eve and I mate in the Garden of Thorns. Our entire world a spiked crown piercing our skins, our lives disrupted by the sins of our actions, the infelicities of our words. I came here to name everything for you so that you would know what everything is. Thus the refrigerator is a tapir, its long snout smelling our crotches as we reach into it for a beer. The automobile is a pangolin, its armored body wrapping around to protect us, its deepest thoughts and the deepest self from the sun's blaze, the rash cruelty of the physical world. The hand at rest, a scarlet ibis, its curved bill digging through our ears into the soft centers of our brains for meat, for the tastiest thoughts, the best words. I could name the rest of the world, but I am post-avant, not of this time, but after, before this time began, an elemental substance that would be protile if it were not instead the last substance of the earth, the final element everything would become. Every confused thought, every clash of words on the page, words on the air, words through eye to beleaguered brain, combine in the end, at the end, to this, to me, to these words, post-avant. We are moving towards perfection like a train toward night, and it is all around us. If we could understand what we say, we would know we had missed our stop. A mechanical arm held out to catch the mailbag as it went by, each tiny message from each tiny mind folded into an envelope. I am not myself, never have been. No time to define a persona, just a vessel into which pours experience like wine. The evenings, wine dark wine, dry but fruity, drink it down. Have another glass, for the night is young, young like the earth, young like the billion nights that preceded it. If you hope to make it to morning, you need the other drink. You need to know who you are. I am, of course, post-avant, not before, but after it. Not made, but making, not one, but many, of the night. Moth night, moth flight, moth light, and no number of words laid out in a row like a day's catch will make me ever be me.
Ah